Hi, everybody. I want to talk about something that is going to come from a place of vulnerability. There have been lots and lots of videos on YouTube about converting, usually from the New Age community to like Christianity, either to them first or like gone back to, okay? And then there's been a lot of responses to that. And then I kind of think, well, there's not a lot of Christian to witch, right? Because we don't need to do that. As witches, right, in this community, we tend to just say, you know, do you, we do, I'll do me, you do you, right? We don't have to put a testimony on there. But in a lot of my videos, for some reason, it comes up. And I say, I'm still in healing from this, I'm still in healing from that. And so I wanted to come on here and basically give my testimony. You know, get it off my chest a little bit. I'm not going to go too in-depth, but I'm going to get a little bit off my chest here. And I think that could maybe benefit me in a way that, I don't know, we'll see where it goes. I don't know where it's going to go, people. But I want to kind of go over my childhood for a second. And I grew up kind of small town, and everybody knew everybody. I knew where everybody's house was, on what street, right? And it was just small town, right? And I had a great childhood because there was a lot of love there. My dad was, I guess, like a dad's dad. You know, he just worked a lot. He came home, he listened to his music really loud. That's my fondest memory. He was a musician, he never did anything with that. That's just like his greatest hobby. And he was a handyman, so he worked on everything. He could fix anything, still can. And I remember music being a huge part of my childhood from him, and then religion being, we were Southern Baptists, okay? And my dad wasn't really into like going to church or anything. I don't really remember him being religious. He never went with us to the church, but by God, my mom, she was very religious. And I mean that in the best possible way. I don't know why, but she felt like if the doors were open, she had to be there. It was almost like a deep set need she had. And I don't understand it, but I might never. So, she was really pious, and she was just this normal, like, if you think of what a stereotypical housewife is, like from the 50s, that would be her. Sewing, cooking, cleaning, So that's kind of how we grew up, right? And we had a great yard growing up. We lived in a small house, and we lived on, I think, like an acre of land, but we had this gigantic sweet gum in the back. And my dad, working in maintenance, he would always bring home like goodies for us to hang in the tree. Usually it was like a rope ladder or a swing, or we always had like ropes hanging down because from like age 4 or 5, we were climbing the tree, and so we were in the tree, and we had these Tarzan ropes. They were like this big around, and he hung them from so high that wherever we were in the tree, we could just jump off the trunk and grab onto this sucker. So we called that our Tarzan rope. And then we had a rope ladder that went the whole way up. Flimsy ass thing. Think rope bridge, okay? Flimsy ass thing. Mostly we just climbed the branches. The muscle memory with that is so strong that if I were to see that tree today, I would do the exact same thing that I did getting up at when I was little, if I could still do it. And for some reason, the tree became a sanctuary in a way I can't even really hardly describe. I was a severe introvert. And I don't want to say severe like, I call myself a severe introvert because still to this day I have these feelings, but it's mostly, I can be the life of the party when I'm out. Even back then as a child, if we were visiting or whatever, I would laugh and cut up and, be great. But then as soon as we would get in the car on the way home, and then once we got home, my headaches and dizziness and nausea would be so bad that I'd have to lay down. I'm still like that today. And so I guess that's why I consider myself an introvert. I had one person tell me that it was like the energy force, that I would basically suck the energy out of everything. Or that people that were around me would suck all my energy dry. And by the time I would get in the car, and it would be like it would all just, it would finally get to me. It's kind of like adrenaline coming back down. And you finally feel the pain, right? And, so it was, I kind of made sense when they were telling me that, but so I felt like I ritualized the tree in a way that when I was having these episodes, I could go out there and just be one with the tree or nature or whatever. I was usually I was in the swing, I was on a branch, or I was on the canopy was so thick on this tree that there was no grass underneath. It was just like hard packed dirt, the whole circumference of it. And so I was sitting under there on a blanket reading, or I was in the tree itself, or I was on a swing flying through the air on a rope. But I was always in there. If we were at home, I was there. And that was a huge part of my childhood. And like I said, the childhood itself, looking back, it wasn't bad, but I remember different things. It wasn't anything huge. It wasn't some, divine light or anything, but I started having questions. We were always at the library. We were all like avid readers, and I was looking through the fairy tale section. Like we all know, it's like what, 398.2 or something like that. I was in the fairy tale section because I wanted to hear a story about way off, but I wanted to like castles in the sky type shit. And I remember picking this book up. I actually, as an adult, and then looking back in hindsight, I remembered this book so well, I even remembered the title, that I looked it up on eBay and bought it. And I was looking through it the other day, and that's kind of how I was inspired to do this video. So, it's this book right here. This beautiful Wizards and Witches book. And the photos in this thing, this was actually part of a series, I think. The photos in this thing was like, I mean, I don't know if you can see with the glare, but I mean, really? And in this, it was this book that described what a witch was. It had a whole section devoted to witches. And I remember thinking, can I be this? Oh, this is a myth? What are you talking about? This is me. And I kind of started doing witchy things after that. Because I was like, well, if I am a witch, maybe I should act like one. And so I started like doing actual rituals under the tree. I started making, granted, at this time I'm like 10, right? So I started doing mud pies in a way that I would mix herbs with them and then pack them on the tree. I would, if I got cut, we were all the time getting beat up outside, okay, because we were always outside. And I would like wipe my blood on the tree. I would carve stuff in the tree. Mostly it didn't make a lick of sense. I just started doing really witchy things. And then it wasn't until a few years later that I had money, like I started to get money, and I would go to the bookstore and actually buy spell books. Like, those spell books back in the day that from someone whose last name's Broomstick or some shit. And I remember like feeling like I did have to start hiding it because my mom, she could see that my love for stuff like this was like coming out. And she kept trying to tell me, look, that's just the devil on your shoulder. You just need to pray about it. Just get down on your knees and pray about it. And she was big on that. Get down on your knees. Like, actually get on your knees. And I remember, like, thinking, okay, well, if this is wrong, and praying about it's what? It's supposed to make the feeling go away? I'm going to tell you right now, it didn't. Praying about it never made the feeling go away. It never made me feel like this, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I would love my religion again. Because this, apparently, was the devil. So I was way out from what religion was. Now, like I said, but before this, before 13, like 0 to 13, I never really thought that I was different. When I started voicing my concerns about certain things, I think my mom's favorite phrase back then was, ask the preacher, ask preacher, ask preacher, he'll tell you. Sometimes I didn't have the balls to, okay? But sometimes I would, and like some of the mentors that I had, like Sunday school teachers, they would be like, look, you just have to have faith. You have to pray about it. God will tell you, God will be there for you. And it's just shit like that. Stuff that never actually answered the question. No one in my small town had the answer. No one. And then it started to come out to my church people that I was thinking having these thoughts. Like my mom would get, what am I supposed to do about linen, Of course, their answer was to have faith that the path that I was going down would lead me right back to Jesus. And it never did. When I can't talk to my family about it. Because I'm kind of still in the witchy closet, right? I can't actually talk to them about it. So that is a problem, right? That I can't talk to the people closest to me about tarot and my witchy spells and rituals. I can't say any of that to them. And that's a really sad and lonely thing. Like I said, my childhood was great, but it wasn't until I could feel that I was, and I could feel this paganry and this heathenry, right? I consider myself a heathen very much so, because I'm all over the place with my paganism. And I was so, I just wanted all this knowledge about the occult and magic and spells and rituals and wizards and witches and even, other cultures, right? Because anthropology has been a fascination of mine forever. And I just was so fascinated by all of this, and everyone in my small town was convinced that I would grow out of it. That never happened, folks. That never happened. And I only wanted to come on here and say a little bit about how I grew up, and nothing like I kind of said about being a witch. No divine light or no divine darkness happened with this actual church that made me just want to turn my back. But when I was 18 or 17, 18, I stopped going. And I didn't put my foot down. I guess I got bold and I was like, look, I'm 18. I can do what I want, and I don't want to do this. I want to be in my tree. So I kind of put my foot down, but I don't remember any dialogue ever happening. But I wanted to come on here and give my testimony, because I want the people in the witchy community to know that if you're in the closet, or if you still have those thoughts that, if you feel like what you're doing at that moment is a sin, and you're like, do I need to get on my knees and pray? Or do I need to put on some Christian music because I'm listening to some really hardcore shit right now? That's me. But you're not alone, okay? I still very much have those thoughts sometimes where and it's kind of scary. Like I'll be doing tarot, and then all of a sudden I'll get this feeling like, is this really just the devil? And that is something I work through actively. And I very much feel like you know, the work that I do that will eventually help me out of the hole is sacred to me. But there's bound to be someone out there that's watched one of those conversion videos, that's watched one of those testimonies, and they have those feelings, and they're like, that doubt, right? Like, don't put the doubt in my head, right? And they have these, am I doing the right thing, right? And I'm here to tell you that I still have those thoughts. I make it an absolute point to do the things and the rituals and the spells and the candle lighting and the baths and the dancing, whatever, that make me feel 100. And I just want you to know, if you do have those thoughts of self-doubt, of whatever, of those, is this just the devil on my shoulder? Is this just something I need to pray about, like blah, 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 blah? You know, it's like you're in your head, right? It's going to take healing, because I very much am still in healing. There are very much still things that I have to do to myself to get back to myself and say, you know what? That's my childhood talking. That's my old preacher talking, right? And it sits here on my chest like that fucking nightmare painting. And I had to tell it to get off my chest. It's like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this ritual because I know at the end of that, I know it works. I know that shit works. I know that being in that tree when I was a kid worked. And I know that being out barefoot and dancing in my yard, that's real. And that feels real. Nature is my church. I never needed to be boxed in with that. And so when I have those feelings, I have to tell myself that I know what works because I've seen it. I've done it. And I love my whole family. And I don't like being in the closet. I don't like being different. Okay? Like I said, the closet smells like feet, people. I get it. But I love them, but I have to do what's best in here for me. And so I want to shout out to the people that are in the closet. Yeah, it may smell like feet, but now you're not in the closet by yourself. Or if you're even out there, but you've had these types of experiences with the church just being so severe of a part in your life that you still have these kind of, getting Bible blasted still, you're not alone. I'm still with you. I'm still in healing. So, okay, before we start crying, right? Because I probably would have if I continued. But I want to say that I'm glad you joined me for this. This is a no judgment space. If you are Christian, if you follow Jesus, whatever religion, okay? I love you. I do, okay? And it took a long time for me to get to a place that I could say that. But to people that I know that are still Christian, and it took me a while to not cringe, right, when they would start talking about it, or when someone at the Walmart would be like, God bless, I'd be like, it took me a long time to get to a place of acceptance, because it comes from here, right? I don't want to I want to be mirroring love, okay? And that's what I'm doing here. So, take my testimony with what you will, okay? And I hope that this reaches someone that needs to hear it. So, much love.